do want to ask you about the plan to send dispatch services to Parma. How do you feel about that? And I think, Jim, it's your turn to go first.
I think the mayor has pretty much put it in a situation where I'm not sure the city has much other choice than to do that. When he took office, there were 9 full-time dispatchers. Over the last year and a half, we are now down to 4 full-time dispatchers and a couple part-timers. He's basically made it so that the system doesn't work for the city of Brook Park, so he's looking to go somewhere else for a contract for service. Can it work? Well, it is something that the state of Ohio and the Cuyahoga County are saying that we need to do some of the dispatch. We need to combine them. There used to be 59 call centers. They're down to 35 call centers now. They're hoping to get down to 8 over the next couple of years. So it's something that there's a statewide and a countywide push to do that. So it can be done. The issue becomes, and the concern I have is, well, what's going on right now when it's not being done? For the last year and a half, we've been reducing it, and I believe that the 911 system's been endangered by this administration. And the council has been silent on the matter. They hear the reports, and they don't put 2 and 2 together that you used to have 9 people doing the job, now you have 4 people doing the job, but don't worry, it's still getting done. 911 and public safety is too important to not ask questions. And as council president, I'd be asking those serious questions. Thank you.
Tony?
Thank you. First of all, as far as the dispatch goes, I do know back in maybe March of this year, or better before that, Olmsted Falls was trying to bring in about $900,000. They appropriated through a grant, and then we were going to go with them, but that didn't work. My opponent was in the rooms at the time with the mayor and trying to negotiate and make that deal work. Stromsville came up with about a $900,000 bill. We decided not to go with that. It was just too costly. And the hospital just didn't work out, which would have been a good program to go there. Unfortunately, now that we're at this point in time, now we're going possibly with Parma. It has to be made a decision on October 6th when the 3rd reading for the Parma legislation goes through, possibly, depending on what council wants to do. I don't know that I've ever heard anything as far as 4 dispatchers. I understand it was 6, 2 per shift, and it's been and had been operated with possibly 4 at one time. I do know also police and firemen have sat on the job when the dispatchers weren't there if they needed more people. I don't think at this point in time I've ever heard anybody declare there was something that was unsafe. I don't ever care for when anybody wants to possibly put words in another person's mouth that they want to go ahead and not worry about safety. I think everybody's concerned humanitarianly wise to be safe, let alone if you're elected official, that you have the duty to watch over the people in the city. So as far as the safety goes, I'm definitely worried about safety. If we hear anything that's unsafe, we're going to address it. But at this point in time, the 3rd reading for this legislation will take place on October 6th, and it's possible it will move on. And it's a wave of the future. As Mr. Astorino has definitely said, I've heard that there's supposed to be at least 6 call centers in the city, in Cuyahoga County, and right now there's plenty of them that are dwindling down eventually. So it's going to happen.
Jim, any reply or follow-up?
Yes. I'm surprised that he says he hasn't heard that about the number of dispatchers, because at the last council meeting is when the safety director reported and said, well, we have 5 on the payroll. 1 is using up the rest of her vacation until she takes a job at another city. The reason we went from 9 down to the current 4 is because with all the talk about dispatching and when we're going to go, the dispatchers were concerned about their security, so they started putting applications into other cities, and they took jobs with other cities. They had to worry about their future just as much because they weren't getting much direction from the administration as to what exactly was going to happen. The 3rd reading for the dispatch is on October 6th. At the last meeting, there was a gentleman that got up to spoke, and he made remarks from the audience, and he said, you know, on October 5th, Parma is swearing in the dispatchers. So the plan is we're going to have these 4 full-time dispatchers working for us. We're going to have some part-timers. And in the meantime, they're also, besides those 4 working the overtime, they're going to have to work part-time at Parma to get acclimated to that. So we're working the employees very hard, and I just think that it's not a safe situation.
Tony?
You.
Just a quick rebuttal to that there's definitely not going to be any gaps in our service to the people. No one would allow that. And what's going to happen is a cross-training, and people will still remain here. And while they're being cross-trained, until that's all settled and everyone's put in their place, that no one will be left without a 911 ability.